Hey everyone, hope you're doing really well today or tonight. I wanted to make a quick video on the importance of being productive and getting engaged in deep work. Now, obviously, we all know that being productive is super important, and deep work's pretty much just being in that state to where you're being your most efficient in producing work. And it's fairly, I guess, it kind of goes hand in hand with flow. If you guys have heard that term before, being in that flow state where work just seems to come to you really easy, you get a lot done in a very short period of time, and yeah, essentially I want to talk about the strategies on how you can be more productive and engage in deep work, and also some general tips and whatnot to kind of help you do so. Now, the basics of productivity in deep work. So, like I mentioned before, deep work is essentially working in your flow state, and it gives you the highest ROI on your time. Now, I was reading Cal Newport's book called Deep Work, and that's kind of the reason actually why I decided to make this video because there are so many things in our life that distract us and kind of take away from our ability to do deep work. So much so that people actually don't really engage in deep work anymore. Um, so if you're able to engage in deep work, it makes it that much more valuable. Now, for example, deep work could be writing a book. It could be being able to research articles. It could be even creating a set of YouTube videos like I'm doing now without being distracted. Um, Now, deep work is the opposite of shallow work, and that usually means checking emails or even doing social media. So, if you're tweeting every 2 seconds or if you're posting shorts every 2 seconds, that's really great. But the reality is that content is going to be quite shallow in terms of how complex it is and how detailed it is. There's only so much detail and so much value you can squish into 15 seconds worth of content or a minute's worth of writing on your phone. Now, a lot of things that require deep work, for example, writing a book or creating YouTube videos where it's very, I'm talking about a lot of different content and concepts, and it's shallow work. Just it means that you can't actually get really deep with what you're talking about. And look, even things like messaging on Microsoft Teams can be a form of shallow work. Now, if we all eliminated shallow work from our life, we'd only ever be producing really high quality work because there's nothing to distract us. But the reality is that work and kind of the things around us don't allow for deep work. So it requires a bit of a more intentional effort to actually make it so you can get into that flow state of deep work. Now, deep work generally supports a high quality of work. For example, writing a book again and faster learning. It just means that you're in that really high quality content zone that can only be achieved through getting in that space of really deep and detailed work. And as we'll get into later on, there's different types of deep work. It doesn't always mean that you're stuck, to something for hours at a time. Some people prefer doing 90 minutes on, 90 minutes off. Some people prefer 4 hour chunks and then a little bit of time off. Or some people actually structure their life in such a way that they spend, say, 3 months out of the year in really deep focus. And they normally do that by, moving cities, or they might move to somewhere that's, more conductive, or they're able to produce more work. And then for the rest of the year, the other 9 months, they can just do whatever they want because those 3 months have made up the entire year worth of work. So it's really interesting. Highly successful people. Now, not all highly successful people, engage in deep work, but a lot do. For example, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Stephen King. They all engage in deep work to create their content or to create their work. Now, there are a lot of other successful people that don't engage in deep work. That, for example, someone like a Mark Zuckerberg maybe initially, or even an Elon Musk initially, to where they were very much in the weeds. They were very much doing a lot of the do for their businesses, and they just didn't have time to actually engage in deep work. The reality was their day to day was just answering a million people all at once, listening to what's happening around the business. and there was just no opportunity to get into deep work unless maybe they did that after hours. But even so, that would be tricky to do. Now, how can you engage in deep work yourself? And for me personally, I start off with a really quiet area and I eliminate any distractions around me. So, for example, right now I'm in a library. There's nothing really to distract me. There's no one around me. My phone and my devices are on do not disturb. Their screens are down, so there's no kind of want for me to actually get distracted. I think as well being somewhere that actually it feels nice to create. For example, for me personally, that would be like a cafe where there's people around you kind of working as well. You might have some really nice music around you, and it feels good. You feel very productive being there, maybe with a cup of coffee. I just came from Starbucks doing that myself, and it felt great. Another way you can engage in deep work, or another tip, I guess I should say, is to dedicate specific times towards deep work. Now, for some people, that's 1 to 4 hours. Some people, it depends on the time of the day, but it could be in the morning, it could be midday, it could be later on at night, it could even be in the early AM. Or, like I mentioned before, some people take 3 months out of their life and go somewhere else and just produce work. There's no right or wrong to this. It all is very individual and depends on what exactly or how exactly you feel better working. Now, within this deep work period, right, where you're being super productive, you should focus on completing those really important, challenging tasks that will move you closer to your goals. So, for me personally, right now that would be completing YouTube videos or creating some short content, or doing these videos. Now they don't require a lot of work, I guess, in terms of creating the slides, maybe a little bit, but a lot of the work now is actually recording that and being able to convey my thoughts as I'm live right now as I'm recording. So if my goal was to say get 1,000 subscribers by the end of 2025, you would have to do this, either schedule a lot of it all at once, or you kind of do it on a regular basis, whatever feels better to you. Now, obviously, over time, you're going to be able to determine what feels good to you when it comes to being productive and engaging in deep work. Now, a lot of people use technology, or they use different tools. For example, they could use a timer on their phone, a physical timer. I know I personally use a YouTube blocker that stops me from being recommended content and also stops me from scrolling on Reels, for example, on my laptop. So that works really well for me. Whereas other people prefer no technology and they actually prefer to say, have a pen and paper for that entire period where they're disconnected from the internet. They may be far away from people. They could be on a farm. They could be in some rural area, and they just get work done. Whatever works for you, find that and make it a habit. Make it so that you're able to very easily do it without too many things in the way. Almost like a system, right? So when you wake up in the morning, it could be your phone's very far away from you, your notebook's right next to you, and you start writing straight away. Or for other people, they might have an alarm on their phone that notifies them, hey, it's time to turn off everything and start working. And over time, you're able to build up a habit and just make it a thing where it's really easy to do. And it's not really something that gets in the way. It's something that you just do. Now, big picture, why are we talking about deep work and why are we talking about productivity? Now, for me personally, deep work is really key to being able to achieve goals and your ideal life. And actually, in Cal Newport's book, I found a really interesting quote, which something along the line said, those that put in really hard, work and focus and are able to produce really great things are the ones that actually have the best kind of lives. They're not the ones that are complaining all the time. They're the ones that are really interested in what they do and they're able to produce really cool content and love what they do. And that's through being in your flow state, and it's also through finding something that is slightly challenging, not too easy. It's also interesting, and keeps you focused. So that is really key to living a great life, in my opinion. Now, aside from that, deep work clearly does have you puts you in a position that you get more done in less time. So your efficiency goes through the roof, and whatever your goals are. So if that's something to do with business, if it's something to do with finding the right people in your life, or creating content that aligns with your values, or being able to write a book, for example, whatever your goals are, deep work will allow you to achieve it sooner, and probably being happier as well. That you're not kind of wasting time, and you're not really getting too far. It's being very intentional about how you be productive and where you put your time. Now, when you're engaging in deep work, I think it's really important to set clear goals, to determine the action or the outcome. So, and this will make it very clear as to what your deep work is for. So, for example, if you're wanting to create YouTube videos like I'm doing now, you would say, I'm going to create 5 YouTube videos over the next 2 to 3 hours. You sit down, you get it done, you tick them off, and you walk away. That's it. And as you do that on repeat, it will just become very easy to do, and you'll just be hitting so many goals, and you'll just be creating so many outcomes from this. Another really good point here is that many people actually they can't engage in deep work. They're so used to being on their phones, and they're easily distracted. Their attention spans have been significantly shortened. So being able to engage in deep work is just becoming more and more valuable. Now, whether that means if your job requires that you connect with other people, and you really kind of you know it's a very client facing role, or it's a people facing role, being able to deeply understand them and really connect with them, that is also something that's really valuable, that a lot of people they can't do nowadays. A lot of people want to communicate their own thoughts, or they're very selfish, or they don't want to listen. Little things like this, which is obviously very different to writing a book, are becoming more and more valuable, because people just they aren't able to kind of go that one layer down and get a little bit deeper, and bring out a little bit more detail in their life, because they're so used to shallow work. And I'll end with this, right? It can be super tricky initially, but consistent deep work will compound to massive success over time. Now, I've been lucky enough to, before reading this book, actually be engaged in deep work quite a bit, especially at my job, or when I'm doing things on the weekend like creating YouTube videos, or writing content online, or even reading books. It's been really helpful for me, but it's made a massive improvement on the quality of my life and the outcomes I've been able to achieve for people. Um, they've recognized as well the value I've been able to add. So it's paid off really well. I feel better as well, and I just know I'm being super efficient. I'm able to also assign time to family and also fun things, but also get that really important work in my life done. So in my opinion, it's almost essential to do nowadays, but unfortunately not a lot of people do it. So I hope you guys have found this valuable, and yeah, hopefully you can implement some deep work scheduling or routine into your life as well, because yeah, it's just becoming more and more valuable, and the sooner you're able to do it, the better your life will be, and the more you'll be able to achieve in your life. So if you guys have any questions, make sure to comment them down below, but otherwise I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.